Hi! For this reference session, I'm going to be taking you through a bunch of single leg squat options so that you can best decide where to spend your time and energy. So as we go through each option, it's not going to be a full workout, though I would love for you to try them with me so you can figure out what feels best and most appropriate for you. So as we go through, we'll be doing a few reps, and then I'll be explaining a little bit about them and why and when you might use them. So all you need today, if you'd like to follow along, is something to sit on, something to hold on to for balance, and if you would like, a light or moderate weight. Even something like a water bottle that's filled up or some cans or something work great. So I'm going to take you through. For single leg squats, before we get really into it, there's a few benefits and reasons we really want to use these. One of them is that it helps you independently train your legs. So with many lunges and squat variations, both legs are working. And that's not going to be uncommon in some of the options we're doing today. However, we're going to try to focus most of our effort and energy on one leg. When we can better do that, we can actually load up our legs quite a lot more without putting as much strain on our whole body. Because if I'm doing double leg squats, I'm gonna need more load to challenge my legs. And that means more load on my back or more load on my arms. If I'm doing a single leg squat, it doesn't require as much weight or as much equipment to really challenge that. Additionally, we're gonna be less prone, of course, especially if you're only on one leg, to compensate. So oftentimes with two leg variations, one leg is naturally going to do more, and then every time we do it, we reinforce that asymmetry. So let's get into it. I'm going to start off with easy variations, easy. So first off, a sit to stand. This is a great one because you can challenge yourself no matter how strong your legs are. All right, so sit, and you can get up with one leg. All right, sit, lift, stand up. So if you have something to sit on, you can try that. One of the cool things about this is that you can just go lower. If you have a lot of range of motion and your legs are really strong, you can go lower, you can sit down, stay up on one leg the entire time. And another thing you can do with it is add weight. So with any of these, if they feel good and you are stable, don't have any pain with it, you can add weight. Whew, came down a little fast on that one, right? So if you have a weight, you can try that out. You can try a couple reps per leg, see how that feels. If it doesn't feel doable, or you feel like you're relying a lot on momentum, then you can just raise up, maybe use a chair or something. Biggest important factor here is that it's stable. It's not going to collapse on you, it's not going to slide. Okay? Doing 20 reps, even if you have really strong legs, 20 reps of big range of motion sit to stands will get you sore. So that's one. That's one of the biggest ones because everyone can do some version of that. You can also use something to help you hold on to. So next, using some form of a kickstand is another great way to work your way into single leg squats. So if I don't feel super stable on my leg, I can just use the toes of my other foot to help me get down. Okay? And then I can focus over time, before I even start adding weight, on shifting more of my weight into this leg. Can I make it really light? Just a tiny bit of this toe touching, like that. Okay? So, cool thing about this is no matter where you are in terms of strength and mobility, you can adjust this. You can go lower, you can go slower, you can add weight. Okay? And you can do it as a warm-up. So again, if you have a lot of strength in your legs, you're really trained up, this is a great warm-up. And it's also a good way to tune in, kind of like cars, and assess how you're doing day to day, week to week. If these start feeling a little more challenging or start feeling very different one side to the other, then you need to look to do something a little differently in the rest of your training. Then, of course, our next progression would be no tapping down. Right? Or rather, no kickstand. So of the no kickstand varieties, I like to do either a tap or a lie down of the leg. So you can do this, which tends to be a little bit easier than just like a light tap. Okay, so that is called a skater squat. And any of these you can use some help. So if you want to work on your stability, you don't like the kickstand option, this is another great option. And you can put as much or as little pressure into your helper as you want to. You can also raise or lower your target, right? So I could do this. So I'm tapping. I don't have to go quite as far down, or I can do the opposite if I really want to challenge myself, right? And I can stand up on something. Same rules apply as the sit to stands. We want this to be stable. There's got to be friction so it doesn't slide. So those are all wonderful options for you. With this one in particular, you can definitely load that up. And if you're practicing along with me, using a reach, and especially with a little bit of weight, can actually help you. So if you have trouble with the skater squats, I would encourage you with any of these to look back at some of our other videos, particularly when it relates to hip and ankle mobility. Because if our ankle mobility is not a lot, especially in dorsiflexion, and we don't have control of that, it's going to be harder to sink down into this. We're going to have to reach further back. So it's tougher to counterbalance. One of the ways we can help ourselves with this is actually getting a relatively light weight and reaching it out in front. So you might be surprised that a little bit of weight could make this significantly easier for you. So here, if I reach out, I'm counterbalancing a bit. It's going to make it a little easier for me to stay upright. It's most likely going to make it easier for you to balance as well. So pretty cool, right? So hopefully these variations made sense for you. There's so many different ones you can play with. Okay, there's also, I like doing sometimes a cross like this to get a little bit more glute, a little bit more adductor. Okay, the biggest key with these is find some that are appropriate for you and that challenge you, and where you're not fighting so much for stability. So that's one of the other biggest mistakes I see and that I've made myself, is that getting into this, there's like an ego thing, like I need to stay on my foot, no help. And then you spend half your time or more and energy just simply trying to balance rather than training your leg. So if we work on hip, knee, ankle mobility and foot mobility, that balance is going to come. In the meantime, we can use a little bit of help when we need it. I'll do this even though, as you can see, I have pretty decent balance. I will sometimes use this depending on the day, or if I really want to focus on my quad or really on my glute and not use any extra energy on the balance portion, I might hold the weight, hold on to something else for balance, so I just don't even have to think about it. So it really depends what you're trying to train. Are you trying to work on balance, or are you really trying to strengthen your legs? And then with the various options, are you trying to strengthen a full large range of motion where you might use a lift and go all the way down? Or are you just trying to get strong in a higher range where you might use a sit to stand or not go down all the way? I would always recommend going through at least fairly regularly. It doesn't have to be every time you train, but going through your full available range of motion, meaning the range that you can control without pain. But it doesn't have to be like that every workout. So for me personally, I'll add a little extra to this video. I'll throw in different types of squats on different days. Or sometimes I'll go through a phase where I'll do a lot of skater squats and not so many other types of squats. So in some of our previous videos, you may have seen pistol squats. So that's another version. The thing is, this is a much higher barrier because you need active hip flexion in the opposite hip. And it requires a little bit more balance and quite a bit more ankle flexion. Okay, so you can certainly work your way up to that. But that's one of those where while you're working on it, there's a lot of energy that feeds into simply improving your mobility. With some of these single leg squat variations I've taken you through today, no matter your ability to balance and your mobility, you can get intensity and train that strength right away. Okay, so leave the ego at the door. If you need to, do sit to stands. I hit those in a training session this week. They fried me. All right, so find what you can use appropriately to challenge yourself. Feel free to reach out with questions. I hope you enjoyed this. As always, don't forget to smile.